Hello everyone, welcome to the Bluehead SEO series episode. And in other words, we will be processing another opportunist SEO case study. And this case study will be about multilingual SEO projects. We will try to explain two main concepts. One of them is the index construction. The second one is the user clustering. And according to the search engines, when they decide to serve a different index, and how the different localities or local proximities actually affected. In this project, we have three main localities: Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. The main obstacle in the project is that when we look at to do Canada, it never cannibalizes with the things that are happening around Australia. But we actually have three different websites: Canadian website, Australian website, and a New Zealand website. When we look at the Australian and the New Zealand websites, they are always cannibalizing with each other. When it comes to the Canada one, we just actually translated around 5 documents initially, and it actually doubled the traffic, or let's say more than double. 120% organic click increase actually happened like around 3-4 weeks. Right now, in total, 9 documents have been translated or localized. Basically, it's not translation because it's only, let's say, from Australia English to Canadian English, but technically 99% of the document are actually the same. Today we'll explain these concepts and these backgrounds by defining some other sections. I already published this case study. It is not a Holistic SEO case study. This is part of our Holistic SEO newsletter on the LinkedIn, which has nearly 12,000 subscribers. Every week we try to publish one another opportunist case study to do some preparation for the Holistic SEO case studies, which are like the books, basically, over 30,000 words, 50,000 words sometimes. At the same time, this case study, basically, while talking about holistic case studies, this is one of them. For instance, this will be the deepest multilingual SEO case that you ever can see, the deepest research about cross-lingual and cross-regional information retrieval with 47 languages. Based on Forex industry, and the website actually still continues to rank well with multiple other websites as well. Try to check it and from every angle that you would like to see, from asymmetric translations or how the search engines actually create hreflang rings to distribute all of the page rank across different type of versions, or how you can actually help search engines to understand different type of context like user context, query context. And as much as I can remember from this is the context-sensitive search. And here or somewhere, I also actually mentioned this cross-language results. This is basically translated results in the Search Console. The first time that they were actually showing it here, and I just wanted to add it to this segment as well. These are the scripts, so slowly let's start. At the beginning, you just see actually the 3 months comparison year over year from the Australian version, because it's the heat quarter basically. And let's say in this part you will see the citation and the mention of the multilingual SEO case study. These are the SEMrush results. Before continuing further, I would like to do a few roundup, because lately I was in Vietnam. Still I'm actually sick. I am trying to recover, and we did a really good speech. SEO Mastery Summit has always a special place in my heart. That's why I went to the Vietnam. And this specific mastermind is from last year, and one of our close friends, Russell Lobo, he wanted to record the session, and basically we recorded it, and I also published them way later. This one is from Krakow Airport after last year's Copenhagen event from the White Press. I actually explained topical map by using just 3 topical maps on Topical Authority by using 3 objects. If you want, you can also watch it. This is the first episode of the SEO Mastery Summit 2023 Mastermind session, and this is my interview with their Mahan. If you want, you can also watch it. When it comes to do my speech on the SEO Mastery Summit, it was about the ChatGPT and AI, and probably some of the agents and some of the mindset changes that I am explaining in these specific agents or the slides. They will be coming to this YouTube channel, because I started to create different type of agents to automate certain type of tasks. And these agents, most probably, I will be sharing them with the premium community or the private community, and they will be able to use the agents directly from the website. Speaking of the website premium community Topical Authority course, after 32 days, we are opening the gates one more time, and all of my speeches, around 9 different speeches across the continents, basically from, let's say, UK to the Vietnam to the Thailand to the Bulgaria, or again the Poland and Dubai. All of my speeches are actually connected to each other. That's why these new lecture series, they will be called From Saigon to Saigon. Many people know my Saigon speech last year, and until I come back to the Saigon, I kept connecting every speech to each other, and I always actually did a unique presentation, including in Estonia too. And probably 25 days later, I will be in Zakopane for doing a workshop and speech in Estonia again. Then finally, I will be moving out to the Kuşadası, I hope. And when it comes to our community, lately we are getting so many good shares. I'm not able to put all of them to here, but I just wanted to thank some of the names here. Corey Milner, actually, our names are very similar too. He mentioned us, and he also explained a few points that he is following our framework, and thank you for that. Then we have the Salman Hashimi with the results that he is getting. Then the Pontus Vipelius. Again, I was also speaking in virtually in the SEO Wives Copenhagen, and many thanks for his support together with the German fellows. And here the Mohammed Ayaz actually shares my framework with the definitions and connections to each other in terms of topical authority. And the Miraz Mu'en from the news SEO industry, he gets results with our framework and cites us. The Wei Pao, he is the founder of the auto-blogging AI. I suggested to check it, and we are not against AI content, just there are some certain rules before using it. He also tries to integrate our system and our topical authority methodology and framework to do his own auto-blogging AI system. I would suggest you to check it, and many thanks to Rob Orr for his kind words. He is telling that our course is actually light years ahead. Elliot Hoy, many thanks. He actually watched our Blue Hat SEO case studies and some of the Holistic SEO case studies while he is traveling, and I believe Bill Scully was telling them actually, like seeing the metrics, you will see all the results together. And Derek Kalkanger announced the SEO Estonian speech. And lastly, the topical authority course, we are coming to that part. So before going for these specific concepts, I would like to thank 2 more people. These actually happened today. Ahmet Abic from Turkey, he basically gives his own results with our framework. Many thanks, brother. And someone who has a special place in my heart, Suresh Kumar Gondi, he also shared his experience with the topical authority course. He published his semantic SEO expert certificate, and he actually has spent like 1 year, multiple times he finished the course, every time he understood something else. That's why I'm very excited to actually publish the second version of the topical authority course with extra lectures by expanding it gradually. And while giving these community improvements, let's move on to the SEO segment. So the local proximity, when you look at our Australian website, we actually realize that always the Australian and New Zealand versions, they are cannibalizing with each other. I have put also Search Console URL inspection tool results to demonstrate some of these canonicalization issues. The main difference here is that many people assume that if you have a website like rootdomaina.com and the rootdomainb.com, we assume that these two things are 2 different websites. In reality, they are not. Even if you have 2 different domains, it doesn't mean that they are 2 different websites. If you have the same brand identity, same layout, same content, and also same regionality, it means that actually it's the same website exactly. That's why when you have the Canadian version, it actually doesn't cannibalize with the Australian version because they are so far away from each other. And that's why our Australian version gets really good amount of traffic from the Philippines because of the local proximity. Because search engines, they tend to choose topical authority websites also based on local proximity. But this local proximity doesn't always come from the geographical distance. It actually comes from the user clusters. If the users from Australia performs really closely related, let's say the search behaviors, I usually call them related search activities and possible search activities. If these two things are same in the historical data, which consists of the query log sessions, the search engine, even if there is a huge distance between different localities, they will continue to serve same index. If they see there are discrepancies in this user context, that's why I'm actually a search context section. It's the reason that I'm actually marking this part, because query context has been affected from the locality a lot. This project is about eyeglasses, prescription glasses, and eye health optometry. When you search something for the eye health, most probably you will be going to an eye doctor. And if you are in Canada, we need a source from Canada. That's the reason that local proximity affects especially certain type of topics more. But if you search something for botanics, locality won't be affecting your situation that much. That's why there you can actually see that your Canadian version is also cannibalizing with the Australian version. According to the topic, the query cluster changes, document cluster changes, and user cluster also changes together with that. I also explained the site reputation abuse that Google has touched together with the website name update. So the reason that Google actually published this website name update is that they basically try to give more attribute or more authority directly to the source of the content. And it also means that different domains can have the same website name. You can have, let's say, Oscar Wilde in 5 different domains as the website name. If 5 different domains can have the same website name, it also means they are actually the same website and they have the same favicon. You should understand this important concept, website boundary. Website boundary is also connected directly to the topical segments plus also authors. If you go to the New York Times or Wall Street Journal, it doesn't mean that there is one website there. Every author there actually represents a different segment and a different website. Plus, one author who writes in 5 different websites can also represent a different type of website structure there. I explained these concepts in my Holistic SEO case studies, but since many people just read sometimes 5 case studies and they don't continue to the rest, actually they are all connected to each other to explain these specific contexts. And here I am trying to explain you why I have chosen actually localizing my content from Australia only in the Canadian version, but not in the New Zealand one. Many SEOs actually don't see that specific context, and they actually cause some harm for their own website. The one more thing to understand here is loop of canonicalization and loop of indexation. So loop of canonicalization means that whenever the search engine crawls your website, according to the latest crawl queue, they actually continue to determine a new canonical version. Let's say, and here, for instance, if you look at here, you'll see that actually we do a check for an Australian URL, Clear Optical HTML. But if you look at here, we see New Zealand Clear Optical HTML has been chosen as the canonical version. This is not the final decision of the search engine. It's something that you should understand definitely, because in a loop, this canonicalization always changes. Next week, when we do this check again, you can see that actually the New Zealand version might not be canonical anymore. This loop always costs money to the search engine, and this brings us to the cost of retrieval. When I created a topical authority concept and methodology, the cost, decreasing the cost for search engine was inspiration for everything. If you increase the cost, whether for indexation, crawling, but also canonicalization or understanding, evaluation, or let's say calculation of the relevance or responsiveness, all of them will be actually affecting you in a negative way. That's why the canonicalization should be in a loop. The another problem is the indexation part. According to your canonicalization loop, the indexation will change too. Many times, these SEOs, they do just a simple site search operator check, and they see that actually this thing has been indexed and they move on. It's not what you should be doing there. Because even if a URL has been indexed, it doesn't mean that actually it is ranking for 100% of the time as it should be. Maybe sometimes it is not ranking there. Maybe 98% of the time it is ranking as the canonical, but 2% of the time another URL might be replacing it. All this interruption in the indexation And all this loop of indexing and de-indexing process will be decreasing and demoting your rankings. Search engine might be tolerating it right now, but after a core update, you might see that you have a bulk de-indexation or bulk ranking losses. And most of the time what I see in these type of situations, that even if the SEOs or website operators and e-commerce owners, SaaS owners think that all these URLs are always ranking, in reality 95 or 8 or maybe 85% of the time it is there. You can always find impression values for second, third or the fourth URL, which means that search engines is still confused about the indexation signals that you are giving. And there are over 22 main indexation signals. We also explain them here. Try to check it. Again, I also explain the website boundaries with some 3 main components like brand identity, web page layout, and the textual and visual content. If these things are same, it means that you are still in the same website. The layout section also has been explained here in terms of, let's say, classification of the or clustering methodologies of these specific web pages as well. And earlier I have done a few A/B tests. So many affiliate sources earlier to increase their since still I am sick, it's hard to talk. Many affiliate sources earlier, to increase their rankings, they just try to translate their content, or let's say transliterate their content through different localities, right? Let's say they created exact duplicate content from UK, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and other English-speaking countries or English-searching countries. So the problem here is that at the beginning, search engine actually ranks all these different hreflang versions. But after a certain amount of time, these URLs, since they have like over 70% same content, they will start to cannibalize with each other. Then the search engine will actually stop listening to your canonicalization or alternation signals, including hreflangs. Then they will also stop listening to your internal links, which means your indexation signals will stop working because of the mixed signals and faulty communication with the search engine. To prevent these type of issues, I suggest you to use this specific script. I started to actually publish some of these things as open. If you have the link, you can check it. Basically, we get 2 different HTML documents. You can put your HTML documents here. Then it will tell you on what percentage these 2 documents are same. This is Australian version. This is a New Zealand version. It says that actually these documents only are different between each other for 27%, which is not good enough. It should be very much more than that. Try to aim over 70% difference to be able to index these things at the same time, or be sure that they are not close to each other in terms of user clusters and geographical area. If you are able to handle these 2 metrics, you can actually increase your value to search engine. Because in the case study as well, I'm explaining that if you are covering more languages and more regions, you will be more valuable to the search engine as much as possible. And they won't be able to give up from that website that easily. Because to be able to replace a website that satisfies multiple topics on multiple regions and languages, they will need to do more comparisons, more checks, more computation, which is something that they try to avoid. This is one of the reasons that big websites, big popular brand websites, they are actually safer, or they are more safe compared to others, especially in the latest updates as well. You can read this hreflang rings concept here too, and you can see some of the updates. One more thing is, you should try to get the concept of URL ID and the doc ID. When you look at these 2 documents here, I can tell you that the doc ID is nearly same. When it comes to the URL ID, they are different. So URLs are different, but content is nearly the same. These concepts are coming from their designs directly for indexation engines and or indexing engines. And sometimes, let's say URL is same, but doc ID is different. It means that the document has been updated according to the update score, which means updating amount and updating frequency. They actually try to understand whether they should switch their index or refresh their index for your latest scores. For your technical SEO part, the reason that actually I explained also ranking states is that explaining how you can read these type of ranking changes. For instance, here if you look at, we come to the nearly 5.5 thousand clicks. Then this, during the core update, actually, this website started to naturalize. So this is something that I call positive ranking state. This is something that we call naturalization. Still, website continues in terms of in a let's say naturalized way, but the impressions keep increasing, so it actually keeps the website safe. The main thing is that usually in the especially multi-domain SEO projects for multiple languages and the regions, people focus on these websites individually, and companies, international companies, they try to have in-house SEO teams per region, and usually these SEO teams, they don't communicate with each other that much, which is an issue, because this, as I say, even if you perceive these websites separated from each other, they are not separate. Basically, a technical SEO issue in New Zealand version will be directly affecting also the Australian version too. It's something that we try to explain to the many website operators by telling that without fixing all the segments in your website, you won't be safe entirely. In my Copenhagen speech that I did just last week, actually, my last slide was telling that rather than what you have fixed or where you fixed, what Google or the search engine sees matter. Basically, you can keep improving your Australian version, but deeply associated version, New Zealand version, if it keeps having all the specific type of issues, then it will be affecting your Australian version together with that too. In this area, I also suggest you to use hreflang in your sitemap, in your response header, and also in your HTML source code too. Try to give these type of signals as much as possible from multiple surfaces. Try to use also these alternation signals directly from your structured data too. This is something that we also explain here. Try to state that actually these things are same with each other based on just locations, and give all these localities and their addresses and their relation to each other. Create an entity hierarchy between them. Make sure that search engine perceives all these sublocations as a separate entity as much as possible. I actually should hide this, maybe later. But also use the knowledge graph API with the Python as much as possible. I guess there should be an internal link here, but maybe I don't have it. Let me try to show it to you. This is a case that I have written way earlier. Try to check this specific article. It will help you to understand what entity-oriented SEO is. And here basically we use Google Knowledge Graph API to retrieve associated entities, their types, their descriptions, also the relevance score and confidence score for them by just using Python. But the script is very simple, and the script is directly here too. For instance, in this area, when I search for apples, you see all the Apple related entities, and you also see different type of entities and their relationships to a specific phrase. For instance, the query Apple, and we have Michael Jackson here. So the results score is directly here. Technically, I don't know why Michael Jackson is related to the apple. Maybe it was the favorite fruit. Maybe he has a song or album or a different type of relation to that. I would like to show you this too. If you use these type of URLs, you can always actually get different type of entities and their relations based on the Google. This is called knowledge graph search, that Google APIs that come, and here is the API request. Here, for instance, we search for Taylor Swift. We get the official website. We get actually, I guess this PT means a different, I don't know, maybe Portugal or whatever. And here we have this specific image. The reason that I am using these things is that if the search engine learns these entities from these specific sources, I suggest you to actually use first these connections and attributes to increase relevance. If you don't want to use Python, you can use these simple URLs. It's not that hard either. To be honest, I shared these scripts directly inside this area. You can also check them too. And lastly, these are the pages report. This number was actually over 14 millions, both Australian and New Zealand version. Now we are actually fixing them gradually. To understand the ranking state, check our YouTube channel. You will see actually over 35 projects with different type of updates, and all these projects are connected to another video in our channel too. If you understand what ranking state is, the rest will be very much easier for you. This is the Canadian version. You can see that actually after the translations or localizations, it directly increases its own rankings. These are some of the designs from Google to explain how they are actually clustering the users. Since this is an opportunist SEO case study, I don't deep dive into the patterns, designs, or let's say advanced SEO. Basically, let's say this part actually explains that based on the cluster, the suggested documents are changing. And to be able to cluster them, they use directly the query log sessions and the query behaviors. They say to achieve the user personalization, for example, one of the well-known techniques, collaborative filtering, involves clustering users and recommending to a user items that other users in the user's cluster have expressed interest in. Conventionally, a user may be taken to have expressed interest in item in various ways. By clicking, purchasing, or adding it to the shopping cart. The recommendation can take various forms, presenting to the user as part of the search results, showing as new stories the user may want to read, identifying items the user may want to purchase, and so on. This also brings me to do another aspect. If you check my Holistic SEO case study, which is a really example project, I can tell. If you look at here, there is something that we call dynamic serving of content, probably. Not the rendering. This. When I search for electricity, Google actually gives history, types, animals, or some other aspects. All of them directly are integrated here. This is something that they call dynamic serving of content. Internally, at least they call it in that way. In a similar way, too, here they try to explain it in a similar way, because if you want to be a topical authority, it's not just about covering a topic, it's about how you are covering it. Even in the course, in the first lecture, it's the thing that I am directly focusing on. And in this case, try to rank for all the verticals in the search engine result pages with all the possible contextual connections. If you are able to get every query context with a proper connection, then you will be able to rank higher for entire cluster of the users. And if the search engine sees that users from Canada and users from Australia, they both prefer different versions of the same website, it will be multiplying your authority even further, and you will be harder to be gave on. And here too, this is something that I also touched in my presentation. Again, here you see the query data has been used for clustering the users. I will suggest you to check it. I won't be deep dive. You should also understand that to construct an index, as much as user clusters and regional locality, local proximity are important, at the same time, attributes of these entities are important too, because if you look at here, most of the time search engines for diseases, they tend to put symptoms and treatments into the same cluster or same index. For some situations, it might be slightly different because of the ranking, high authority or high level of page rank sources. But most of the time, it will be like that. So as much as the locality and user behaviors and user clusters, at the same time, entity attribute pairs determine when they should actually construct a new index for a new entity, new attribute, or a new region based on the user behaviors and contextual closeness. That's why I suggest you to watch this Holistic SEO case study about entity-oriented SEO. And with that said, this is the SEMrush result for it. This is the href result for the Australian version. And this is the second part of this case study. Probably I will hide this name. So this website has, again, like over 50 different languages and the countries. And I actually have written it here too. And page rank. Yeah. So let's say you want to increase your page rank overall, but you can't do it due to the budget constraints. You don't always have to take external mentions or definitions, citations, and the links directly from the United States. You can also first dominate entire SERP in a cheaper country to rank. Then you can use your historical data, plus you can use your local relevance from there to have some certain type of links, and you can reflect that page rank in the other region. A few times we have used cross-region links directly. It works still, but I would suggest you to use actually a proper language graph, which means that first take your link from, let's say this is the Indonesian version, take Indonesian links, ILO authoritative links directly to the Indonesian version via the hreflang, try to reflect it to your United States version. This is what this project is actually doing, and it will be the next one. And basically, this is the overall structure of this specific case study. The video is already exceeding the 30 minutes. Check the structured data, the Python scripts, the definitions of the concepts, the linked documents. And you are always welcome to join our community. If you would like to know once the course is coming out, just subscribe from here. The mail will be sent. Over 20,000 people this time. And the second version of the Topical Authority course will continue to be launched like 4 or 5 months with extra concepts and extra topical map examinations from the real-world projects. I am very happy to come to this specific moment because this year we established the community and we created new thought leaders, and we even created new economics. I must tell that many people or many different SEO communities had hard situations due to the latest updates, but in our community actually we keep getting positive results and positive shares, and it makes me happy. Of course, not everything is coming from semantic SEO, it's coming from holistic SEO. I always tell it, we are not against links. We do anything for ranking, anything for understanding the search engine and communicating with them in a better way. So, my people, the revolution continues. Love you all and see you very soon. Thanks for listening to me.